Today on Hearts of Heroes.
Oh, it's definitely going down, bro.
A scene straight out of Hollywood, but this disaster is very real. A hot air balloon crashes into a speeding train.
I see this big cloud of dust as the balloon is drugged by the train.
I heard the screams of bystanders saying the train hit it.
Plus, a house fire erupts, trapping a man inside, unconscious and clinging to life.
When I arrived on the scene, the house was a ball of fire.
With smoke and fire raging, his chances for survival are slim.
I did not think he was going to live.
Thanks to teamwork and courage, these heroes are true lifesavers.
Soaring through the clouds in a hot air balloon has thrilled people for hundreds of years, lifting us thousands of feet above the earth.
But when a hot air balloon malfunctioned, 3 passengers found themselves careening toward a speeding train and into our story of courage and heroism.
I was sitting on a bench watching these hot air balloons, and I'm like, wow, this is so pretty.
We saw the balloons about 15 miles out of town, and as we got closer, the balloon was right above the train.
I saw the canopy kind of deflate and go down.
The balloon gets entangled in the train, and I see this big cloud of dust.
When one gets a call like a train versus a hot air balloon, you have no idea what to expect.
The city of Burlington, Wisconsin, population 10,000, sits on the southeast corner of the state, nicknamed Chocolate City, USA, because of its massive chocolate factory. But for the locals, Burlington is famous for something else.
Trains probably have 10 to 20 trains a day.
It seems like there's a train that comes by once or twice an hour.
2 a.m., 3 a.m., they're all times of the day. Huge train traffic.
While the daily freight trains can be a bit hectic, another form of transportation offers a more peaceful alternative.
There's a balloon company that people can pay to go up in a hot air balloon for X amount of time. So it's pretty common to see balloons in the air in Burlington.
Especially throughout the summer, a lot of evening flights come out of Lake Geneva. We see them pretty regularly.
On the evening of June 1st, 2022, the sun was setting over a summer sky. A few of Burlington's off-duty firefighters were enjoying the beautiful weather.
I was sitting on a bench watching these hot air balloons, and I'm like, wow, this is so pretty.
I was sitting on my deck and just thought how fun it must be just to be up in that balloon.
It was like the perfect setting of a sunset with hot air balloons in the background.
Train engineer Bruce Rogers also noticed the balloons as he navigated a freight train into Burlington.
We saw the balloons about 15 miles out of town, and we made a comment how nice it was with the sunset.
But for one balloon carrying 2 passengers, things took a terrifying turn. For reasons unknown, the pilot had to make an unexpected landing. Alex Marino was watching from his front yard.
The hot air balloon came up out of nowhere, kind of was going up and down. You could kind of tell that something was off. Oh, it's definitely going down, bro.
The operator of the balloon was attempting to land in a small grassy strip.
At this point, a train is actually coming northbound as the balloon's attempting to land.
And then as we got closer, the balloon was right above the train. You could see the pilot obviously running the burner to either maintain his altitude or keep his altitude.
I saw the canopy kind of deflate and go down. I heard people yelling.
I see the balloon itself fall towards the train. I'm like, you just see that it's not going to turn out well. So I just placed the train in emergency and stopped it as quickly as I could.
But the average freight train traveling at 55 miles per hour can take close to 1.5 miles to come to a complete stop.
With the amount of time it needs a train to stop and the amount of time it takes to air that balloon back up, everybody's fate was already decided.
There's just nothing you can do. It's totally out of your hands at that point. As the basket touched down on the ground, the balloon gets entangled in the train, and I see this big cloud of dust as the balloon is drugged by the train.
Then I saw the canopy go up and no basket go up with the balloon.
That's when we kind of realized that there was some kind of impact because it had separated.
I heard the screams of bystanders saying the train hit it.
I pretty much just took on a full sprint towards what was going on.
Coming up, after colliding with a train, would any of the passengers survive?
When one gets a call like a train versus a hot air balloon, expectations go out the window.
But first, a tip to keep you safe in your home.
As a restoration specialist, I've seen too many home fires that started out small but quickly turned catastrophic.
Keeping an up-to-date fire extinguisher in your home can help put out a small fire before it becomes a big problem. Check online or your local home supply store for an ABC-rated fire extinguisher.
And remember, this one smart purchase could save your life and the lives of those you love.
In the summer of 2022, a hot air balloon attempting an emergency landing collided with a 4,000-ton freight train. As the locomotive came to a stop, nobody knew the fate of the 3 passengers laying beside the tracks. Alex Marino lives nearby and was one of the first to arrive.
Combat kind of kicked in. I was in the military from 2009 to 2014, deployed to Afghanistan. The first thing I seen was the couple completely disoriented, kind of in limp mode, sitting there, kind of checking them, touching themselves, kind of confused.
Alex's military experience helped him to act quickly. And he administered first aid to the pilot, who had a severe head laceration.
He's got about a 3.5-inch gash to the skull. Hey, can you keep talking?
Yeah.
All right, man. Keep talking. I knew that I needed to apply pressure, stop the bleeding. I took my shirt off and I wrapped it on the top of his head. And I just held pressure down on him and I continued to speak to him. Hey, can you keep talking? All right, man. Just keep talking, low and slow as you can.
First responders got the call.
When I read the call on the computer screen, honestly, I thought it was a typo, but they're serious. A train and a balloon collided.
EMT Claire Rosenberg had been at a nearby lake watching the balloon sail by.
All of a sudden, I see the word hot air balloon, and I was like, there's no way. I'm like, what?
My immediate reaction was, can you say that again? I had just saw those hot air balloons go over my farm.
When one gets a call like a train versus a hot air balloon, expectations go out the window because you have no idea what to expect.
As first responders raced to the scene, Alex stayed with the gravely injured pilot.
I just held pressure down on him and I continued to speak to him. What's your name? Are you okay? Where are you? Do you know what happened? Can you keep talking to me, buddy?
Head injuries can often be critical, leading to confusion, agitation, and sometimes lasting brain trauma.
Alex is providing first aid till I got on the radio and I let dispatch and everybody else that was coming know what was going on.
To come down, tell you that.
I just started yelling out combat things.
Stay with me. Hey, we're losing them. We're losing them. Hey, come on. You're fine. Hey.
Just saying what I knew from my own experience to help. There was fire rescue that were off duty, on duty, or if they had a scanner. I mean, everybody was coming out to help from each direction that heard it.
Keep talking, okay?
At that time, everybody kind of just stepped away and rescue took over.
We're going to put a collar on you. It's going to be uncomfortable, and we're going to bandage you up, and we're going to get you out to the hospital, all right?
One patient had a pretty decent head injury, and another patient had pretty significant internal bleeding from the blunt trauma that he sustained going down the way as well.
Jack's call for what?
We called for the helicopters or life flight. We have to assume that the situation is very bad and we need to get you to the hospital within our golden hour and get that trauma team to you.
We call it the golden hour because you want to start some definitive care within that hour.
It's a critical hour. That helps your survival rate.
Due to the distance we are from a level 1 trauma facility, a chopper was, bar none, the best decision to make.
They can get somewhere in 10 minutes versus our 45 to 50-minute drive to our local trauma hospitals.
The pilot and one of the passengers were flown to a trauma center. The third person was taken by ambulance to the hospital. And thanks to all the heroes, all 3 survived.
That night, Burlington Police Department came to my door and thanked me and said that if it wasn't for me, that the gentleman may have lost his life.
I think Alex was the hero of the whole thing. He didn't have to stay and help, but based on his military training, he did the right thing.
We have 3 patients who are still alive, who are productive members of our society. To me, it doesn't get more successful than that.
Coming up, when a man's home becomes an inferno, a single call may save his life.
I said, I'm trapped upstairs, and that's the last thing I remember.
A fast-growing house fire can engulf a structure in a matter of minutes, endangering anyone inside. So it's imperative that rescue teams arrive as quickly as possible.
With the lives of both the people trapped inside and the firefighters on the line, every minute counts, and those moments can mean the difference between life or death.
I opened the door and the hallway was completely filled with smoke.
When you see this amount of fire, people inside have a low probability of living. The human body just cannot handle that type of heat going into your lungs.
All I said was that I'm trapped upstairs, and that's the last thing I remember.
Sandwiched between Flint and Lansing, Michigan, along the shores of the Shiawassee River, sits the city of Owasso.
It's a small community, bed and breakfast type community, and it's in the heart of Shiawassee County.
We got a great little community with the river coming through, the castle on the river.
Life in this small community is simple and quiet. That's how the morning of February 18th, 2022 began for Arthur Snyder.
The day started out pretty normal, really. I woke up, went downstairs and cleaned up, and then I went upstairs to read the Bible. I knew something might be wrong when I saw smoke coming up past the window outside. I thought maybe there was a fire in the garbage can out below the window, so I was going to make an attempt to go put it out. When I opened the bedroom door, I noticed there was a lot of smoke inside the house. So I closed the door to keep the smoke out, and there was a wash rag that I had folded up, and I sprayed it with some water and put it over my face so that I wouldn't inhale as much smoke.
Arthur did the right thing. He moistened the towel, stayed low, and kept calm.
I thought that maybe I could get down the stairs if I laid on my belly to stay away from the smoke. And I poked my head out the door and I noticed that there were flames coming up the stairs. And I knew that idea of trying to crawl down the stairs on my belly was no good. So as soon as I closed the door, I picked up my phone and called 911.
But neighbors had already called for help.
When I called 911, the operator asked me if I was calling about the fire, and all I said was that I'm trapped upstairs, and that's the last thing I remember.
When I arrived on the scene, literally the house was a ball of fire.
One of the police officers had notified us that they believed the victim would be in the front bedroom.
We got to get him out, so the only way we're going to get him out is to go in.
But this fire was too intense for firefighters to get inside.
I made the determination with the captain that we were going to have to knock the fire down, at least to gain some control, to reassess and decide how we were going to be able to make entry to perform that rescue.
When you see this amount of fire, people inside have a low probability of living. Just due to the heat, the smoke, the human body just cannot handle that type of heat going into your lungs.
Sir, are you there?
Coming up, firefighters risk their own lives to save Arthur. But will they get to him in time?
He was completely limp, unconscious. To me, that was a person that was deceased.
But first,
being caught in a house fire would be a terrifying experience. That's why it's so important to have an exit plan before disaster strikes.
Start by mapping out the multiple exits in your home and practice exiting them safely. These drills can help you keep your bearings, even if you lose visibility during a fire.
Taking the extra time to prepare may keep you calm and collected in the face of an emergency.
With his house engulfed in flames, Arthur Snyder was unconscious on his bedroom floor. With precious minutes left, firefighters had to find some way to get inside that inferno.
It was imperative that we got inside.
But before they could even attempt a rescue, they'd have to get control of the fire on the first floor.
There was a couple hot spots in the front room, so we knocked that down. There's not a lot of visibility.
We decided to do an interior search. Myself and firefighter McKay made entry. We had been given some guidance onto where the interior stairs were, but not much other than that.
The first 5-6 minutes is real crucial if we're going to make a rescue compared to recovery. At that point, when I got to the stairs, I wasn't too sure of which one we would be doing, a rescue or a recovery.
Desperate to reach Arthur, rescuers outside made their way to the second story.
We knew that by putting a ladder up to that main window, we could try and get to where that victim is, as well as also sending fire personnel through the house.
Not knowing where the victim may be, we had to search every bedroom up there.
The lieutenant had the thermal imaging camera, so he went past me to the next room on the left.
Thermal imaging is a process that allows first responders to detect body heat signatures.
I felt a relief in the wall. And that's when I said, hold on a second, this may be the bedroom door. I was able to open the door and immediately heard the victim gasping for air.
We couldn't see anything. We could hear him breathing, and it didn't sound good. It's what we would call agonal respirations.
Agonal breathing is the breathing that occurs just prior to when someone's going to stop breathing and go into cardiac arrest. I knew that our time was limited, so now it was time to get him out of the house. I made the decision with firefighter McKay that it would be best to remove him out the window, not only for speed, but to not further expose him to more smoke or heat.
Well, Lieutenant Nowicki and I carried him over to the window. We said, hey, we got one.
I was leaning through the window, and I grabbed him under the arms and threw it around the shoulders. He was completely limp, completely unconscious. To me, that was a person that was deceased. I did not figure that they had survived.
Unclear if Arthur was alive, firefighters dragged him out of the window, but his body was so limp, it slid between the rungs of the ladder.
He accidentally got put through the rung of the ladder, and the rope of the ladder that extends it actually held him in the air.
So I was yelling down to some other firefighters. I had them grab ladders and ladder each side of my ladder and assist me in holding this victim.
So we had to holler for people to get underneath the ladder so we could slowly lower him so we would not drop him.
Once he was down on the ground, there was a medical crew down below.
When I saw him, I did not think he was going to live. People don't survive fires like this. It's very rare.
The next thing I remember is regaining consciousness. Just knowing that I was in the hospital and that I was awake was such a relief, you know, and I knew that everything would be okay.
Arthur is eternally thankful to these men and women who risked their lives to save his on that day. He also got the opportunity to show his appreciation firsthand.
Sure is good to see you guys.
Good to see you, Arthur.
Thank you so much. I'm just so thankful for what they did and being able to rescue me and get me out of that harrowing situation.
You guys worked hard that day to get to you, and it's a blessing to see you standing here today and looking so good, because that day I wouldn't have thought that when we were pulling you down the ladder.
I want to thank you all again from the bottom of my heart. You know, God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll always be thankful. You know,
that's what we're here for.
Yep.
God bless you all. God bless you.
In 33 years of fire service, I've never seen a rescue like this. It's so rare to actually find a victim that's alive in a fire like this and actually hand them down a ladder.
That's what's amazing to me, is that we did it here in Little Owasso.
There are so many kinds of heroes, from brave firefighters to dedicated police officers.
Or sometimes they're just a caring person who jumps in to help when they are needed the most. And today, we applaud all of these wonderful, considerate men and women. Thank you so much for watching, too. We'll see you next time on Hearts of Heroes.